Okay, everybody, welcome back to your Crisis Coach with Scott H. Silverman over in San Diego. The tough guy. You're a big cuddly guy. That's what you are. Big cuddle puff. I know who you are. And me, Fred Carroll.
I prefer Fluff Muffin.
Fluff Muffin, Big Fluff Muffin, Scott H. Silverman. It's not a tough name, but it works for you. So how are you, Scotty?
Oh, well, man. It's good to see you. I love the new studio. Are you excited about it?
Yeah, it's exciting, but it's also there's a lot of little things I still have to do. And it's been so damn hot that I've struggled. I'm working all day long, then coming here. When I was doing the studio, I was waking up at 4 a.m. and going to work and coming home at 3 p.m. and working till midnight. It's a lot of work because it's a very old house that I'm in. It's, built in the 1800s. So the electricity isn't top notch, I guess is the word. Didn't even have electricity, but it has one.
Be careful with that.
Yeah, there's one plug in every room. So I had to drill a hole through the ceiling and bring out electricity from downstairs up here and then just set up the camera and stuff. But it's pretty cool. It's, you could see from the background, it's for the new shows that I have coming out. But to my right is a complete green screen wall. And I could just turn this whole thing completely sideways and use the green screen. And then it's lit up very professionally up top. And the paint is done special with a dead flat black and a dead flat white. So there's no reflection off the walls. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it. It's something I've always wanted to do. I need a clicker like right here where I could start my computer and turn it off, or I need to hire someone because I got to walk 20 feet away, hit a button, but it's all good. So what do you think of all the stuff going on in the world this week?
Well, the most recent thing I was watching the president elect or president nominee been approved for Trump, and he's appointed a vice president, J.D. Vance. So
yeah, J.D. Vance.
Politics are interesting, but going back, I think what you're pointing to is what happened over the weekend. I mean, it's just scary to me that someone who is so well protected, should be so well protected, some kid got on a roof and took a shot and, killed somebody, which is very sad, and injured two others. And of course, I don't know if he was hit with a bullet or it was a ricochet or what happened, but the fact that he was injured in an environment that should have been completely sealed by, and I'm hearing the stories like everybody else. Well, the Secret Service defers to local authorities to handle things outside of a certain perimeter, and it's scary. And I'm hopeful. I know this sounds a little, woo woo, but I hope that this will cause, Trump and maybe Biden to take a joint position, if it's possible, and the Republicans and the Democrats and the independents and the population to say, if we don't work together, we're going to end up being our own worst enemy. Not like we haven't been. So I'm hopeful about that as an outcome from this catastrophic. Plus, this kind of a thing happens to a human being. They have to take a look at their own personal vulnerability and life. And, judging what I heard from one of his sons, he's still brutally going after it. So, I personally was concerned, and, I'm not a big supporter of Trump's, but, he's a human being. And if somebody could take the risk to try to hurt him, what are people willing to do out there? The copycats that might be coming out of this.
Or the retaliatory type copycats.
Yeah, well, either way.
It becomes a left and a right. It is sad. It's sad to watch. It's sad to see. What's really sad is the social media of it is horrendous. I'm so disheartened sometimes seeing some of people I thought I knew or were friends, and the things they're willing to say on the computer are always shocking to me. Now I'm no prude when it comes to stuff, but somebody lost a life regardless. Somebody's father, somebody's brother, son, etc. He did nothing wrong to deserve this. Did Trump do anything to deserve this? No. No, nobody should be shot at or threatened in that way, especially from a political standpoint. I'm tired of the rhetoric of back and forth. Who's to blame? Who's this? Who's that? Everybody's got a reason for it to happen, but nobody has a solution to stop it. Nobody's talking about the solutions. And maybe this JD Vance guy, JD Vance, I don't know how much you know about him. I know a bunch about him. He is a Yale graduate here in my town. Went to Yale Law School. He's also an author. He wrote a book called Hillbilly Elegy about his life growing up with a drug addict. And I don't know if you got a chance to see that movie. It was an amazing movie. It was on Netflix, and it still is. He's the writer of that, and it's his life story. His real name isn't JD Vance. He changed his name due to growing up in that environment, but he really touched home about what it's like to live with a mother who's an addict. So it does help. It does have something in common with you and I of what we speak of here.
What's the name of the movie?
Hillbilly Elegy, Eligy, I believe.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's a lawyer. He's got a few strange, in my opinion, of course. I also lean politically in the same direction as you, I believe. We don't speak of it because technically it's nobody's business, right? I mean, I'm just going off of the people we are.
Yeah. And we honor our friendship so much. But it's interesting. I heard that he was really against Trump and outwardly and publicly about it. So it'll be interesting. He's also 39, which makes him, I think I heard, the third youngest vice president ever.
Yeah. He's only been in politics 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years.
It's interesting.
Yeah, he's bright.
He picked somebody like that, and I'm sure it'll come out what the thinking was, because maybe everybody else had a track record that would be too hard to overcome. I don't know. So, it'll be interesting to see how this all unrolls. And, and it was fascinating going back to the protection services. I think I heard the Secret Service say they're changing nothing for this convention, which infers they clearly have their strategy in place, and it was in place, and they're doing nothing different, which almost speaks to, you do what you've always done, you get what you've always gotten. I mean, they can't explain what happened. Local law enforcement's trying to figure it out. The FBI's involved, and again, I'm hopeful this will create something, because we need to figure out a way to work together differently.
Yeah, right? I did see something interesting where the guy who has the furthest sniper shot and recognized on the record books said where this kid was shooting from is the most obvious spot where they should have been looking. And he said, that's the first place you should have been looking. That's where a sniper would have been. So he believes, in his own opinion, that this kid didn't do this on his own. No 20-year-old has this input. He knew somebody else, an organization or such, had to have helped him. How'd he sneak all this by? I mean, even just getting there with a rifle in his pocket, or in his backpack or whatever.
Yeah.
So where are they watching? I don't get it. But like you were saying, one thing you touched on that maybe we agree or disagree on, when you said he disliked Trump at one point, and he did. He came out on fire at one point, called him an idiot, all these things.
Yep.
But I often stress it's okay for him now to flip flop. Isn't that what we technically wish others would do in life? Is maybe to give him the benefit of the doubt, he is an intelligent man and successful, to give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he was wrong. Maybe he sees he was wrong about his opinion and said, now I do support Donald Trump, rather than it being a negative, being a positive. Because we ask people all the time, well, why am I even arguing with you if I can't change your mind anyway? Don't we want people to change their minds or be willing to listen and have their minds changed?
Well, that's what being teachable is about. No, I absolutely. Well, look, I think half of the people that thought they would be, a potential, Rubio. I mean, he got slammed by Trump, and he slammed Trump. I mean, Trump's got a strong look. He's got a strong personality. He's gonna have people that don't disagree with him. I'm more worried about the people who, if he said, "Would you mind terribly jumping off this building for me?" they would do it. In their mind, that's the way they talk. I'll do whatever it takes. Those are the people that concern me the most, because I think that's the person whose mind won't be changed no matter what they see in front of them. I mean, it's almost like we can't even sit. We talk about, today is Wednesday. Well, no, it's not. It's just the day of the week. But there's a name for it. It's Wednesday. I don't agree with you. How do you have a conversation with somebody who thinks like that? And you don't.
Yeah.
You share your opinion, you hear what they have to say and respect it and move on. But you don't judge them and criticize them and, pigeonhole them and go, they're insane because they don't agree with me. So, yes, I think changing our mind is what makes us teachable. And I got to tell you, in my own recovery journey, I have learned over the years that you never know. Let me put it this way. It's kind of a weird way of saying it. You never know who God's going to speak through. And if you don't have an open mind, you're not going to be able to hear people who care about you or learn or be teachable. And I'm 70 now, and I think my mind's more open today than it was before, which is, for me, kind of fascinating. Even, because I don't think of myself as stubborn. I think of myself as determined and passionate. I mean, I got invited today to go to this really big press conference on Friday here in town. Whether I go or not, I'm still debating, because I don't want to be a tool for somebody else in a political agenda. And what it's about is the 1,000-bed shelter that the mayor and his team want to really put together, because he wants to get elected, I think, and he wants to do it by telling the community, I'm going to solve the homeless problem. Now, keeping in mind, he's been in politics for probably close to 20 years, young guy, but in his office won't even return my phone calls or my emails. So there's an individual that's politically on this trajectory, and he really wants to be governor. So I think politics has turned into something I'm really concerned about. Somebody said it earlier in an interview that a lot of these politicians are career politicians and they never want to leave, and they just want to get a check from the government's dole, and that we need new blood. I agree with that philosophy. We need emerging leaders. We need young people who can bring more to the table. I mean, watching Mitch McConnell, he was, after January 6th, he was adamant. I mean, he said publicly he would never, and he's changed his mind. So we've seen a lot of that. And you heard today, you ask what's going on. The judge dismissed the case against Trump in Florida.
Yeah.
I mean, we all watched that video with all those different documents, and if you were just believing the court system and the judge that made the decision is representing all of America, you got to wonder, how did that happen? How did we go this far? Then all of a sudden, boom, this is no longer a case that court wants to review. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. So,
yeah, well, the one good thing, I think a positive, if me and you could start searching for positives in the Trump campaign and stuff like that, maybe a guy like JD Vance, who clearly has a background with addiction and recovery type issues. Maybe we finally get a politician in there that actually cares about these things and takes a stance on it. If he is nominated as the president and he is the vice president, maybe that's where he puts his power, and we could support that, which would open our mind some. But listen, somebody's got to do it. One of these guys has to somebody has to be the leader and they have to answer your text, they have to answer your email and reach out. And maybe he's the one. Maybe he is, like you just said. You never know God's gonna speak through. Maybe he is somebody that has that ability, regardless of his Republican to Democrat side. Maybe he puts that aside. He is intelligent. He understands the law, and he's lived the life. And we haven't seen that very often. I'm still leaning the other direction, but we can't lie to ourselves anymore that he's not looking strong right now, that side. He's not winning right now. If it's today, I'm willing to give him chances and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but all I know is me and you don't have much control over it beyond 2 votes. And
that's a lot of power. Think about it. The fact that we can do this, we live in a country where we can still vote, no matter, as long as you're at minimum age, you can vote, and there is no sunset when it's like even the DMV will take your driver's license away from you when they think you can't drive anymore. But I don't think I've ever heard of somebody not being able to vote, no matter what their age is.
Felons
I'm
can't
talking
vote.
about age-wise, where
age-wise,
they've got dementia, or they've got full-blown Alzheimer's, or convicted.
Yeah,
felons.
I never thought of that. I assume those people probably don't cast their vote anyway, for the most part.
Or someone in the family does it for them while they're taking care of them.
Yeah, so. I'm sure that happens, but that's why you got the delegates and stuff. And you're in a much more important maybe state than I am because of the amount of delegates that come out of California compared to Connecticut.
Yeah.
But
we're both the population. I mean, we have 40 million people here in California, and California is kind of considered a liberal state, obviously. And we also have half the homeless in the country in California. So there's a lot of interesting outcomes because we are. And I just saw again on the news the other day that what are you going to do if California physically separates, from the rest of the country because of the Andreas Fault and earthquakes? And I know we've talked about this, but when it first happened, I remember we actually went out and got life rafts. We thought it was going to happen. We thought California was going to break away and we were going to float. But that'll be a topic for another day. So
it's all interesting. So what else is happening in the world of recovery and addiction? Anything groundbreaking, or is it still same pace? Is the pace slowed?
I think, we're still seeing the overdose rate continue. There was more and more naloxone going out. I think last year they had a number where the reversal rate went down a little bit, and I think that's good. But I also, my biggest concern is the cartel. They have endless resources to bring product here. And, the U.S. has clearly been the most consistent consumer. So going back to Vance, even if he comes in with a passionate mission to reduce overdoses, when they start to talk about slowing down importation of drugs, I mean, that's a huge moneymaker. And I've got to believe that whether it's the DEA, DOJ, Department of Justice, they're not going to just sit there and go, oh, we're going to, you got the borders closed, we're going to go, reduce staff. So I think that's the kind of thing that's going to hold him back, because we've seen people. Look, Biden has a son, that he's been talking about publicly for a long time that has an issue. I haven't seen this White House come out and talk about, well, you saw the debate. Trump didn't say anything about it. Biden said we've got to get new machines at the border. And the cartels, they know they can throw enough at the border that enough will get through. And there are resources that say, criminalization people in the, prosecution world, the drug enforcement world, that we're seeing product being confiscated at a level we never have before, which means more of it's getting in. So that's my big concern, is the prevention education piece hasn't really been implemented yet. It's going to take leadership. And
don't you kind of, I was thinking as you were speaking, hasn't politics become an addiction to a point in the last few years.
I think
I
so.
mean, it looks like people are almost living and dying by it. Like they need, it's different than it's been in the past. I know you're old enough to remember when politicians walked on stage, shook hands, talked about their agenda, shook hands, and walked off stage without calling each other an idiot or anything. I'm on the verge of that. I remember vaguely maybe a Ford and Carter type thing. I can't imagine either of them throwing jabs. But then it switched all of a sudden. I think once Barack Obama and Clinton and all that stuff came through. But now with this Trump stuff, Trump is the one thing he should write books on marketing. He's a genius marketer. Genius. He sells more bullshit than anything else. And he knows how to stand in front of a camera and speak. Even if you could have him on tape saying something and be playing it in the background, and he'll say it never happened. He'll just say, he'll deny, and then his believers believe it.
No, I think if Trump could find a way to work with Biden, and let's assume for the sake of assumption here that Biden becomes elected new president, and Trump was given a seat at the table with a confined area of interest that he loves, and he could, as a for-profit consultant to the Americans' economy, I think his ability to get things done is pretty incredible. And as you said, he's probably one of the most successful influencers we've ever seen. I mean, you've got the Taylor Swifts of the world, and you've got football players, but Trump's following is huge. He could help change the climate change issues. He could help create, whatever we need environmentally. He could help probably end poverty. He's got those kind of experiences of managing projects. But the difficulty is he goes off the rails, and he's so self-serving that it would be tough to do. But it would be interesting to have a powerhouse like that working with someone who understands politics like Biden does. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what our world looks like. And I think this catastrophic event could be one of those things that actually shifts a paradigm for us, and we all start, sitting down. Because you're right. The language used to be, oh, shut up, sit down, or you're not really an American citizen. The framing now is you're a pedophile, you're a liar, you're a cheat, you hired assassins. Bobert Green alone coming up with that stuff and saying it out loud. And how they get reelected, I don't understand. How does our country have a place at the table for people that talk to their contemporaries the way they do, to think out loud and still be voted back in? It is insane. And
there's a lot of power. There's a lot of power in it. There's power in the struggle of it. And I'm not even against, I'm a pretty fair middle of the ground guy on a lot of things. I don't disagree with everything Donald Trump says. I think I tend to disagree with the way he says it or presents it.
Yeah.
That's what turns me off more than turns me on. The idea, some of his ideas are strong. His economy stuff does have some strengths in it. Do I need somebody that's soft and cuddly like a Biden and stuff? Not necessarily. Do I prefer that? Yeah, I kind of prefer the maturity of the man that's got that much power. I tend to trust that person a little more. Whether I should or not, I don't know. I don't know enough about politics. I just know I have to go to work every day. Like I've never been somebody that worries about gas prices, for instance. The reason is I'm not in the gas business. I have no control over it. And my car needs gas. I have no choice whether it's $15 a gallon or $1.50. Whether I'm happy or mad about it doesn't change the price, at all. It doesn't change it. All I could do is drive to work and keep working and hope for the best. Now, what me and you are doing here I think is our niche. This is our niche. We're trying to save one person today, two people tomorrow, four people. We're in a game of multiplies here. We're not, we know we can't save the world, but we're willing to try to save the one person or the two people. So what's something before we end this and stuff? What's some advice you have today, this week, for people that are struggling?
I think, I believe that one of the things I've really learned a lot about, and I think we go back to your quickly to your point about compulsive, obsessive, addictive behavior when it comes to politics, because that kind of, when people have that venomous tenacity, or they're just out of the plane, and that's an outcome of addiction, where you're just so consumed by something that it's actually altering the way you process your data. That I think that's happened to people, and just like social media has become an addiction, I think we're going to see, and I've spent the last week and a half not watching the news, because I telecommute, and I have a TV on for the news and a TV for YouTube and Zooming and other things. So, but one of the things I think that if I were to give somebody a piece of advice today that wouldn't be something I talked about 2 or 3 years ago, it would be to listen. And if you're struggling, try to find somebody who will listen. And if you know someone who's struggling and you're close to them and they trust you, listen. And all the different things I've seen, again, in the last 2 years, is listening. That's, I think, what people need, is to know that there's somebody they can talk to. And I'm not necessarily talking about a therapist. I'm just talking about a trusted person, family member, someone you're close to, someone you play soccer with. Just sit down and go, "Do we talk?" And be willing to have a conversation. And if you're the recipient of listening on that conversation, listen. Don't necessarily give advice, just listen. So that's the word, listen. That's my big theme right now, is listening to people, because screaming and yelling ain't working. Throwing stuff isn't working, and then internalizing it's not working. That statement I have, pressure busts pipes. So listen, if you don't know,
well, you are right, because within the last few years, as my daughter got older, she's 24 now, or almost 24. I started about 3 years ago, giving less advice and listening more to her problem. And instead of solving her problem, I just commiserated maybe with her a little more, with a few, instead of, if she came to me, let's say it was a boyfriend problem. I said, well, it sounds like something that's not fun to deal with, something like that. Instead of giving her advice of, well, maybe you should call him. Maybe you should do this. Maybe you should do that. And it's changed our relationship. It's made it better from a stress level and trust level. The trust level is through the roof, where she just has no problem telling me anything. Now, a lot of guys can't handle that, but boy, is it a gift when you're getting it, when your daughter's willing to come, even if it's stuff, and you know what I'm talking about, stuff that you don't think you want to know about. But boy, if she needs an answer and she's trusting in you, there's no better feeling in the world.
Yeah. And when parents say to me, well, what if they don't want to talk? I said, find a time. And because they'll want to talk, they'll want something. And other than the act of listening, the phrase I like is, tell me more. What would that look like? Tell me more. Your example of, not offering advice, because technically and philosophically, I believe, and also emotionally, if somebody trusts you and they need an answer from somebody to bounce it off of, they're going to say, can I share this with you? And can you just listen? They might even ask for that. Then listen, because you know what? You're right. And then you're going to start hearing stuff you probably, watch what you wish for. You didn't want to hear, but the fact that you're able to listen and hear and give advice, that's a good thing. That's caring, that's love, that's passion.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody out there could assume what I'm talking about, but because everybody goes through it. We're all human beings and we've all been there. But I don't know if you had many people to talk to about this stuff. And I certainly didn't growing up. And, even her friends, she has friends that speak openly to me, maybe not as, as closely, but they're certainly not afraid to speak in front of me about things and stuff. I've had them ask for advice and it feels good. It feels good to be needed. That's what I miss most about my kids being out of the house. I don't feel needed like I was before because I'm not. And that's the hard, you're there too. It's one of the hardest things to deal with and nobody talks about it from our point of view, from the parent point of view. But boy, is it hard to work for 30 years just to give somebody a great life to not even know where they are right now, or not even, because it's not your business anymore. It's not your life. It's hard to let go.
It is. And I think social media has become a replacer. Social media has become a platform where kids go, young people go. I go. If I say to somebody something and I don't understand even the word that they use, I'll Google it and I'll find out, this morning at my meeting that the topic was pride, and when I think of pride, I think of false pride, I think of ego, I think of control. So I Googled it, looked at it and saved it in my, history on my browser and look at it later in more detail. So to be able to have that resource is great. The problem with social media is there are people out there that are threatening people. There are people out there that are saying things that they probably shouldn't. And then the kids young people have to get a filter to understand, when someone's just going off and when someone really is saying something that's heartfelt and real and genuine and something that, they care about what people think about what they say. And I think we've lost a lot of that.
Yeah, we definitely did. Okay, so that was a nice conversation. It's always a good conversation with Scott H. Silverman. It's fun, something good to talk about. Even the stuff that's happening that's bad. All you got to do is be a better person. If people are just a little better than they were yesterday, each day aim for that. We could get over this political, bullshit that we're dealing with. I have way too many friends. I'd prefer not to lose to something so silly and stupid as politics. We just have to learn to agree to disagree again. We have to learn to listen to the other person, listen with intent. We have to listen with the intention that, yes, they may know what they're talking about. We got to trust that our friends are telling us the truth at times and then make a educated decision. Do your research. Don't jump on social media and take a Facebook post. This is a problem both these candidates went through recently where Trump used the word bloodbath, completely taken out of context, I'm sure. He's not dumb enough to go on and say, if I don't get your vote, there's going to be a bloodbath. I don't think he meant it that way. Just like Biden didn't mean it's time to put Trump in a, what do you say, in the scope, in the bullseye. I doubt he meant let's shoot at him. I highly doubt it. I'm sure it's just a term he used of focus. It's time to put focus on Trump. Take the focus off of me, focus on Trump and learn, educate. So we have to stop the social media stuff. I'm ready to just get rid of it. If it wasn't for marketing reasons for our shows and our lives and connecting with people that I do enjoy, boy, I'm tired of it though. Yeah. And it's a poison. I go to it every day. I'm addicted. There's an addiction there. It's a go-to, but okay, everybody, that's going to be it. Is that all you got to say, Scott? Anything new?
No, I think I did my data sharing for the day, and I wish everybody really well, and I have a great, safe summer. And if you find yourself needing to talk to somebody, give me a call, 619-993-2738, 619-993-2738. Call, text me, go online, find me, let's talk, and I'll listen.
Yeah, just go to scotthsilverman.com, right? Yep. Is a website they can go to. And there's links in the show notes below to connect with me or Scott. we'll be here every week. We're trying to do this every week. There are weeks where we get away from both of us. We get busy, but we'll do our best to keep up with it. So if nobody has told you they love you today, we love you, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye, everyone. Your Crisis Coach with Scott H. Silverman and Fred Carroll. An addiction recovery and mental wellness discussion.